Francesca here from Peluka Salon, and this is episode 3 of Peluka Presents. Today we are looking at different toppers and taking a look at the base materials and the base sizes, just to give you an idea of what you're looking for. In our last episode, episode 2, we looked at measuring for a topper and thinking about those early considerations and looking at your own hair loss and assessing it for yourself. So take a look at that if you haven't already, because that'd be super helpful when you're looking at this next episode. I have with me Georgie from At Her Hair My Head, who is going to be my kind of demo assistant today whilst looking at toppers, and she's going to show you some of her pieces, and I'm also going to show you some example pieces just to give you an idea of the different shapes and the sizes, etc. So Georgie.
Hiya. So I've been wearing toppers full-time for about 4 years now, and my needs have very much changed from when I bought my first topper to the sort of size and the type of base that I wear now. And that journey has also taught me the different types that I like and don't like. And those of you who follow me on Instagram will know that I had a baby fairly recently, and that has progressed my hair loss quite a lot. So again, I'm now looking at much bigger bases before I have the need to go on to wigs.
Yeah, and we did say, we touched on that in the last episode, that it is for those of you with hair loss that changes, it is an ongoing reassessment and journey when you're looking at buying and choosing your toppers. So I think, just to recap, we talked about the shapes and the sizes, and we talked about measuring your hair loss to a place where you have healthy hair to adhere to, so whether it's clips, etc. So with that in mind, we measured Georgie and we decided that she was looking now at a larger base. So at the largest to a healthy hair, we're looking at a 9x8 base. You've got to 9x9 base. Maybe we'll work backwards, Georgie, if you want to show us that, and just roughly pop that on. So if you just show us the inside of the base. So this is the John Renault top style. As you can see, that base is 9x9, 9x9, and it has a circular shape. The clips, as you can see on that, you have one further back, so it has a lace front, and you have 2 at the side, and you have 3 across the back. Now you can see this particular one has a full monofilament top, which means you can part it anywhere. You will find that some bases will have different tops, so maybe it might have a monofilament part, etc. But this one you're able to part anywhere. And for Georgie, because her hair loss is located at the front as well, so there isn't a huge amount of hair across the front, a lace front, if she wanted to wear her hair back, she would need to have the lace front, so to cover that area, because she wouldn't be able to pull any hair out to blend. So she'll pop that on, and then you'll get a sense, because not only are we dealing with a base size, when you have a larger base size, of course you have a much more fuller density of hair. So that allows you to think about how much coverage you've got of your bio hair, and it allows you to consider any customization that you need to do, because it's much easier to blend when you've got a heavier density of alternative hair, because you're not showing as much of your bio hair. When you're working with smaller base sizes, then of course your stylist has more of a job to make sure that you're getting a really super blend, and we'll come to that when we look at those. So as you can see, she's clipped that on, and I imagine she looks so glamorous. Now, in terms of, show us in terms of how that's sitting at the front, because I think it's important to talk. We've talked about, if you take a topper out of the box and it clips on and it's perfect, then wonderful, but it rarely is. So if Georgie came to me with this,
You see, it's not.
Yeah, so she's finding that there's not enough, the clips it's not sitting enough, it's not holding enough in that front area, and then causing that to lift. So what I would do is we could look at smaller clips, we could look at possibly some very, very light adhesion on the lace front, maybe not necessarily across here, but sometimes all you need is a little something to hold it here so that it lays flat. So you would work with your stylist or your alternative hair specialist and try out lots of different things. So I think I might send Georgie some tape and see what will happen. If she just popped a teeny bit here, it might be enough. But in terms of the coverage, Georgie, how do you find that now that you're kind of entering into a world of larger bases?
I should just add, I haven't done up this clip here because this is my thinnest part and there's just no hair there. So I think that is adding to the fact it's not staying quite put. I mean, this colour is a lot lighter. My bio hair is a bit long for this topper at the moment, but you can see the colour difference. It's a lot lighter, but because it's such a big base, it's got really good coverage. And I think that is one of the pros of having a bigger base, is so much more of your own bio hair is covered, that you can go for a slightly different shade, that you don't have to get the perfect colour match. And I do, aside from the getting it to sit flat here, I find these clips down here really comfortable. And it kind of hugs your head. So it's not just perched on top, it's nice, giving your head a cuddle.
Because it'll also take the shape of your head as well. So it you know, over time it will find its kind of groove, as it were, on the shape of your head, and that's really important. And in terms of the coverage, kind of how it's sitting above the ears, if you could just let us know, like, roughly. Show us underneath.
So there's a clip here, which I find pulls a little bit, and then it comes down to here. So I mean, I'm quite thin on the sides, so this is great for me because I don't want any of this to be on show. And that just completely, and there's obviously there's more hair because it's a bigger base, but I don't like really thick hair because I find that makes the topper too heavy and that pulls more. Whereas when you've got the bigger base, the hair is obviously spread across the base. So you've got more hair, but it's not really like it. This still feels really light.
Can you spin around roughly, just so that we can see? There you go. Because I know that lots of people, they're buying the wrong. That's lovely. That coverage. They're buying ever so slightly too small because they're measuring perhaps wrong, and they're getting a split. So that they need more coverage here, but it's not enough, and so they're getting that split look. And I've seen people on social media go, "What's this? What's this?" And I want, if I get involved, I'll say, because you need a heavier density of coverage at the back, which effectively means a larger base. I've got another piece which is a larger base that doesn't have the lace front, and it's the top style. I'm just going to double check those measurements on that. It's 8.5 by 9. My light doesn't like me today, but it has a very similar construction in that it's got the wefts. It has this area here. This is just because the John Renault one. Not every base will have this, but this one in particular has a bit of permatease to give some lift, and also to keep that from splitting. When there's permatease as well, it does stop it moving in that way, so it's kind of a remedy for that. It has a double monofilament top here, which is different to what Georgie, she's just got the lace, but this is actually really super comfortable. So those of you that have sore scalp, so if you have had surgery, and I have clients that have really tender sore scalps where they've had a surgery scar, you want to find the softest base possible for them. And this has like a medical grade silicone here, which will tape down if need be, but also it's got a little bit of an anti-slip property to it, so even with hair it will just give a little bit of a grip. This one has a closed lace front, so if you had hair at the front, you could pull that out and over it, or equally you would cut a fringe into that if you needed to. This comes with a little bit of a shorter bit, but effectively it's got a similar structure in that the clips are at the side. There isn't a clip here, and they're all the way around. So that's another larger base option as well. Do you have any other larger bases there to hand, Georgie, from other companies?
I'm very non-glamorous when I take off my toppers. You see all these people that take their toppers off and they just go, and I'm like,
well, I think clips prevent that. And yeah. I think whilst you're putting the other one on, I think it might be interesting to just briefly outline how it becomes easier putting them on yourself, but it's a knack you have to learn. I always say to my clients, I never let them leave unless I've seen them put it on at least 3 times. And even, you improve even by that kind of short period of time. But the main thing is that if you've measured correctly and you've got healthy hair to clip into, that's the first hurdle. I would always do a teeny back comb or put a bit of hairspray, something that gives it, because if you've got super conditioned hair, it's going to slip. The clips are going to be harder to put in. So it's really important. So we tend to start with the clips closed. Do you start with your clips closed and then open? And the reason you do that is if you put it on and the clips are open, it's going to pull in some hair, and then you're in a world of mess trying to get that hair out. So clips closed. And I would always say start with the front ones. I actually went through a short period of wearing a topper when my hair loss started, but I would always clip the front, hold, clip the back, hold, clip the sides. And the hold is really important because you're keeping that, you spent ages putting that position and you're keeping that position set. And I just saw Georgie do that. She was using her hands to do that. So that base size, Georgie, if you can tell me what that one was.
So this, I had to write them down because my memory is so poor. This is 8 by 7. And this size works really well for me. Yeah. I mean, it's got the fringe, which obviously makes it much easier.
8 by 7, that's actually, yeah, exactly. You've got an 8 that way, 7 that way, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that helps because I have I have quite a lot of hair loss on my crown now. But I'm just going to turn around and show you so the base comes to here.
Mm-hmm.
Which
that's
means
perfect. Yeah.
Got quite a good amount of coverage at the back.
Because when we took your measurements, we were quite generous into that healthy hair. So that sits still within that healthy hair area. So that 8 by 7 is still a comfortable. So Georgie would still look at 8 by 7, but know that the 9 by 8.5, 9 by 9s are going to also do a good job as well. And it's also about the shape, as we kind of looked at last episode. So that's great. Now I've got, I want to show you one of my most popular ones because, and it's the Easy Part XL. And it looks like this. If my light's going to be nice today. There we go. It looks like this. And the beauty of this is that it's actually quite a lovely coverage, and it's beautiful coverage at the crown. So in terms of its size, it is, sorry, this is 3 inches, but it spreads out to 5.75, almost 6, and this is 6, so that feels like a good chunk of a base. But this one is for kind of mid progressive, but the reason I love this one is because the coverage is at the back, especially because of that width at the back, really suits those people whose hair loss is located here. So they've got hair at the front because they would need to pull that out, or they would wear it a bit forward and put a fringe in, so there's still that option. I know I have a wig on, so this just seems a little bit ridiculous, but you can see that where that could go a little bit back, and you've got quite a lot of coverage. So this is a really lovely, and it's super flat because it's just that piece of lace, and it's like a single monofilament, And that is a really, really nice option for those people that have a little bit more than just diffuse parting. And these come in longer lengths as well. This is a 12, I think. So that's got a lot of density in that back, which I just find is a really important factor. But that's a really, really nice option. What sort of ones do you have, Georgie, with this sort of size, a kind of 5x4 or something?
So the smallest I've got is a 4x4, and then I've got a few that are kind of 6x6 or 6x7. But I let me take this off. So we've talked a lot about making sure that you put the clips into healthy hair.
That's it.
I do still wear my my slightly smaller base toppers because I spent quite a lot of money on them. And so for example, this one is a 6x6.5, I think. And this is a silk top, so I really like silk tops. Although they can make you quite hot.
Yeah, so I'll talk about that whilst you're popping that on. So the silk top, for those of you that don't know, the hair is knotted within a layer and there's silk on top. The reason is that it hides those knots. And I'm sure those of you that are on social media, you'll see that we have this knot problem. So if it's just lace, you might have some visible knots, especially with darker colours. But a silk top eliminates that completely. But of course, what you're getting there when you add a layer. So when I showed you this lace top, for example, single monofilament, it's super flat because it's one layer of fabric, and that means that it sits really flat on your head. As you start to add a layer, so I even showed you a double monofilament, every bit of fabric, although it's mill, it creates more bulk on top. And I often have people come to me wanting me to thin out toppers a lot, and they tend to be the silk top ones because the density and the height, and it's not a problem, we can do that, and that's the solution to do it. But the silk top, the benefit is that it has a super scalp. My light's terrible here, but we're just going to carry on. You get a super scalp line, but sometimes it can be a bit bulky. So have a look at Georgie's there.
For me, they're definitely the most realistic looking scalp.
Yeah.
But the problem, because again, my hair loss is here. If I don't have a fringe, they don't. So all of the silk tops that I have don't have a lace front. They're just the silk, and so it's not as realistic at the front. So that's why I cut fringe in, because that takes away that problem.
You have you always have a transition.
Yeah, well, if you do get one that has the lace front, then you can see where the silk ends and the lace begins, and I don't like it. Doesn't that takes away the realism for me?
Yeah, that's right, exactly. And that, so you know, all of these base materials, they have benefits and they have, you know, it's pros and cons. What works for you, of course. That one's lovely. So that's a slightly smaller base. If you turn around and have a little look, we'll have a little look.
So it comes to here.
Perfect. If you split that, there's a lot of density, so that's it. How's that clip feeling, even though we have some sparser areas there at the back?
It's not too bad. I'd say sometimes if I'm wearing this one all day, it's a little bit uncomfortable by the end of the day, because it's obviously not clipping into the healthy hair. But it's all right. It's not. I don't feel like it's really like ripping my hair. No. But again, it's not a really heavy piece.
No.
I tend to shy away from. I don't like too much hair anyway, because I'm not used to having really thick hair. Like before my hair fell out, it was always quite flat anyway. But I think if I had a smaller base and it was really heavy and a lot of hair, it would definitely be uncomfortable.
Right. And we've talked about actually the importance of having choice, because in our last episode we talked about having different toppers in rotation prevents continued stress on the same areas of your hair. So that's a really kind of important consideration as well. So I know that, Georgie, you've got a small topper and I've got a small one, and I think that'll be the last one just for us to look at. And this one is the one I have is just a parting line. This is the John Monroe Easy part, but you have a very similar, and this one is a Diddy 2.5 by 5. There we go. Right. And that one literally is for that beginning stages where it's just the very kind of part line. So this one would, and this is super popular. And people use this one also just to add volume, even if they feel like they haven't got hair loss per se, but they want to just add volume. So toppers are not just for hair loss, they are for people who feel like they want more volume, more density generally, or for special occasions. These are super for wedding hair, just to add a little bit of extra to work with. These were super popular in the first lockdown when people wanted to cover their roots. It was literally a root cover, but I think people have got over it a little bit more now and are able to wait and just realise it's not the end of the world. But so that's and again, that's clips, and it has that lace top here. So, but that's a really nice kind of entry, beginning stages piece.
So this is my 4x4, and I wouldn't necessarily buy a piece this small. This was sent to me to try out for a different company, and I decided that I would try it with my hair tied up for exercise, because I don't like having anything on my head when I'm exercising, but I also don't want people to see my hair like this. So I thought this was quite a good option for having it up in a ponytail. So I'll put it on and show you what it looks like down, because you can see quite clearly there's not enough coverage.
Before you do that, can you show that again? Because I want to kind of, we talked about shapes and sizes. Now that, although this is a similar cut, these have similar coverage, that shape is super, super different. Now that is really intended to sit a bit back, because if you put that one too far forward, I don't know whether it's doing it on you, but you have like a lip. If the base materials are thick, you will have a feeling it's not molding down. So the placement of them is really important. So yeah, I mean, I just wanted to point that out.
Well, obviously I wear mine right forward.
That's right.
So
that piece is intended to be worn right forward or not is another matter.
Yeah, but it's clipping into my hair at its very thinnest point. Yeah. But because it's so small and it has not much hair, it's very, very light.
It's not
so
dragging, yeah.
I'm just going to turn around, because you'll see there's literally no coverage at the back.
Oh, that's it. And part of that is because the shape of your hair loss means you couldn't. So if you change the way, for example, if you took that off again, and I know this might look bonkers, but put it back 1.5 inches. Yes, we're talking you put a fringe, there's no coverage at the front. But the point I'm making is that really is intended for someone that has more crownal hair loss, as it were, so that shape is sitting at the crown. Then you're going to get more coverage at the back, but equally you need the hair to make it look like Queen Elizabeth there.
Interesting look, isn't it?
Yeah, so just turn around, and so there you go. You'll see that coverage is working. It's still not enough, but it's just by the changing position, it shifts the focus of where the coverage is going. And just to kind of refer to my little handy chart again, you can get pieces that sit just on the crown if your hair loss is just in the crown. So that's why it's really important, in like we said in that first episode, to assess and have your hair loss assessed by a specialist, but also by understanding how we might assess your hair loss, doing some of it yourself. You're going to quickly eliminate things, and then you might end up with a pot of 5 options that you're not sure about, but you've done some of that work. I don't know about you, Georgie, but I'm a mega researcher, so I never do anything without bringing a lot of knowledge to it. However, when my hair loss happened, my emotional capability to do that just wasn't there. So I'm not undermining the fact that I'm saying to people, try and do this for yourself. I do recognise that the emotional space that people are in when they're going through this, they possibly don't have the capacity. So it's important you find someone that you feel that you can say, I don't know what I'm doing. And so I said in that last episode, if they're not measuring your head, ask them to measure your head. Ask them why not. At least that's the very least expectation, as it were. So I don't know if you've got anything to add, Georgie, about some of those experiences you've had with different bases and base materials. So we've talked about the silk tops, lace tops. Some of them you saw had wefting. Majority of them were hand tied.
I mean, I think that they should also be asking you about your lifestyle.
Absolutely.
Because if you do a lot of exercise and you want to wear your topper when you're doing exercise, that's a different consideration. If you have kids who are going to pull your hair, you might not want a really big, heavy, long topper. You might want a shorter style or a lighter style. And I also think it can be, there isn't one base material that's better than the others. It's very much different people like different things. So some people love silk tops, some people love lace fronts. And so I think you need to find out what your needs are. And often that might mean you have to try something and it's not quite right. But I don't just have one type of topper. I have silk tops, I have mono tops, and I wear them for different things. I have synthetics, I have human hair pieces, and again, if it's raining, I probably won't wear my human hair piece. I'll wear my synthetic, because if it gets wet, it doesn't matter.
That's right.
So I think there's lots of different things to consider, but also you don't have to find that one perfect piece. If you can afford to have more than one piece, then you can have different things for different situations.
And those are really good points, because you know, we do ask about lifestyle. That's one of our main things that we talk about. And so the security, how it sits, how it stays, how it reacts to, you know, if you're in the wind, if you get caught in the rain, all of these things. And it's like a process of elimination, and we arrive at the best scenario. But quite often, if someone is particularly active and has lots of different needs, we do end up with two. And quite a popular decision is to have a human hairpiece and the same, because quite often brands will offer the same base, the same style in a synthetic and a human hair. So the Top Smart that we looked at earlier, that comes in curly synthetic, it comes in straight synthetic, but it also comes in human hair. It comes in human hair. I believe it also comes with a French top. But so there are lots of ways that we can, you know. So the main thing is getting the length and the base sorted, and then we talk about the fibres after and the colour after. And to briefly talk about, once you've got all of those things, the base and the length, for example, we do have, and we're going to talk about that in future episodes, to then consider how to blend in terms of colour and the way in which you would expect to cut it. So how to choose the length, because lots of people buy too short a length, and then it's harder to blend. We always want to start with a length that is longer than your hair, so that there's so much more we can do by cutting in layers, cutting it with your hair, lots of things that we can do. But that's for a future episode. So unless Georgie has anything further to add, I think that concludes episode 3. Georgie.
No, I don't have anything more to add for now.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Georgie, and I look forward to working on the next one.